So in this video, we're going to be looking at the life cycle of the Plasmodium species. Okay, but before we go into the life cycle of the Plasmodium species, let's just have an overview of what the Plasmodium species is. And the Plasmodium species is a causative agent of malaria. It is responsible for malaria. So this parasite is also known as the malaria parasite. Okay, and it's transmitted by a vector, a well-known vector known as the female Anopheles mosquito. Female Anopheles mosquito. Okay, so this is the vector that transmits this parasite, the malaria parasite. And there are about 200 species of the Plasmodium parasite. Okay, 5 of which are associated with humans. And those 5 are the Plasmodium falciparum, the Plasmodium vivax, the Plasmodium ovale, the Plasmodium malaria, and the most recent one, the Plasmodium knowlesi. And this is the most recently discovered, the Plasmodium knowlesi. And the Plasmodium falciparum is majorly prevalent in this part of the world. Okay, so this is just an overview of the Plasmodium parasite. It's transmitted by a vector known as the female Anopheles mosquito. Okay, and it gets into the body by the bite of this vector. So when this vector pierces your skin and finds a blood vessel, it releases this parasite in a particular form, which we know as the sporozoite, into the bloodstream. And we'll talk more about this when we get deep into the life cycle of the Plasmodium parasite. So let's look at the life cycle of the Plasmodium species. Now the Plasmodium species has a very unique life cycle that begins when the mosquito takes a blood meal from an infected person. Okay, so the mosquito doesn't just bite because it wants to bite or because it loves biting. The mosquito actually bites because it is required, because blood from a host is required for the maturation of their eggs. Hence, it is only the female mosquito that actually gets a blood meal, that actually needs a blood meal. Okay, so it begins when the mosquito bites an infected host. Now, before the mosquito bites an infected host, what happens is that the sporozoite is already prepared in the salivary gland of the mosquito. So when the mosquito mounts the skin of the host, what it does is that it unwinds its proboscis. Then the proboscis is like a needle-like structure that the mosquito has, and it uses it to draw blood from its host. So when that proboscis is unwound, it is pinned on the skin of the host, and it goes down until it finds a blood vessel, and it breaks that blood vessel. When it breaks that blood vessel, the first thing that happens is that the mosquito releases the sporozoite. Now this sporozoite is accompanied by enzymes, liquid enzymes, and the enzymes make sure that as the mosquito is dragging the blood or getting the blood, it doesn't clot on the way. So the enzyme is like anticoagulant. So it helps to easily get the blood into the mosquito without coagulation. Okay, so when the sporozoite is released into the bloodstream of the infected person, it goes to the liver. The liver is the first point of contact, and I wonder why the liver is always the first point of contact for parasitic bloodborne parasites. Maybe it's because it contains about 2/3 of the blood that circulates around the body. Okay, so when it gets to the liver, what happens is that it matures to form a structure known as the schizons. So when the schizons is formed, it matures also to form another structure that splits or bursts to release the merozoites. Now, between the point of the sporozoite and the schizons is known as the exoerythrocytic cycle, and that is because all this happens outside the red blood cell. It is now from the merozoites that the erythrocytic cycle begins. The erythrocytic cycle begins. The erythrocytic cycle begins from the merozoites. So when the merozoites are formed, what they do is that they mature to form a structure, a ring-like structure that is called the trophozoite. Now these trophozoites mature. How do they mature? They mature in two ways. Now, most of them will mature to form schizons that will go and repeat this cycle by bursting and releasing the merozoites, while some of them also will form gametocytes. Now we know that the gametocyte is the megagametocyte and the microgametocyte, the female sex cell and the male sex cell. So when this is formed in the bloodstream, when a mosquito comes back to take a blood meal from that infected person, it mustn't be that same person, but from an infected person, the mosquito draws these gametes into its stomach. So in the stomach, these gametes fertilize to form a zygote. Okay, so when it fertilizes to form a zygote, that zygote now develop, mature to form a rod-like structure that is known as the okinate. This structure, what it does is that it begins to bore the midgut of the mosquito. So when it gets into the midgut of the mosquito, it develops further to form the oocyst. Okay, now the oocyst, after much maturation, it splits or it bursts, or you can say it lies to release the sporozoites. Okay, and from this point to this point, it's known as the sporogonic life cycle. So this is just a summary of the life cycle of the Plasmodium species. This is how the Plasmodium parasite moves in the bloodstream of the mosquito and the host. Okay, so thank you for seeing this video. I would please want you to like, share, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not done so. Okay, please, thank you. And if you have any question, please do not forget to engage in the comment section. I'll be there to answer all your questions. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.